And Jen, I did make you a co-host so that you'll be able to record it. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes for everybody to join. How was your Labor Day weekends? Did you all get time to relax a little bit? And feel free to put in the chat box if you are new, if this is the first time joining, or if you're a returner. And let's go ahead and get started so that we have enough time to get to everything today. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shelly Maxwell, and I'm a counselor with the Ascension, Wisconsin Employee Assistance Program. And this is our 11th R&R session. So next month, we'll have been doing these each month for a full year, which is exciting. And you can find these recordings in our YouTube channel. So if you go under Ascension Wisconsin EAP, you'll find a playlist with all the recordings in case you missed a month and want to go back, or you enjoyed the session and want to use it at different times between our R&R sessions. That's perfectly fantastic. So you can never have too much of this R&R time. So I'm very glad that you're joining us this week. We weren't sure if the email went out. It got away from me with the holiday on Monday, so it might be a small group today. So as always, this is a recurring link. So if you save this link, it works for every single session. And you all probably have saved that into your calendar, I'm guessing, if you're joining us today. So that's always a great thing. It's always the first Wednesday of the month at noon. So with that said, I'm joined by my colleague, Jen, and Jen helps with the technical parts of this. If you've got any questions or challenges, feel free to put that in the chat box to her. And she also helps with recording the sessions. So for this month, I was thinking about how stress can impact us. Jen and I were just talking, as some of you are joining, about taking my firstborn to college, and for the first time, and how grief can really create brain fog. I really feel like now the clouds are parting in my head and I'm remembering things that I need to be tracking again. But stress can do that too. So when I think about this image here of the field, right, we've got the expansiveness of the field, we've got the expansiveness of the sky, yet sometimes the clouds or these ruts, we can just fall into old ways of thinking that cause a sense of constriction. And So taking a moment here to think about what constriction feels like or looks like to you, right? It's, when you think of maybe a tightness or a closing, sometimes it can feel like we're pigeonholing ourselves. A lot of times in stress, our amygdala gets activated, that threat detector, and it generates a lot of worst case scenarios. So that worst case scenario thinking really constricts us versus thinking more expansively. So I want to introduce this idea of expansion. A lot of times we think of perspective, and that gives us a wide perspective, a wide view. But what if we took it even farther and just felt expansive? So, for instance, if you all have seen the James Webb telescope images, what were some of your reactions to seeing the pictures of the universe? These stars that existed how many billion of years ago, when we're just now seeing their light. It just seems like some of these images are time capsules of what's existed the last couple of billion years, or these amazing pictures of Jupiter, right? And to think how many more universes and galaxies there are besides ours, right? So sometimes expansion can start to feel overwhelming, but if you just let yourself not know and be a peon, it doesn't really feel as exhausting or overwhelming. It's like, okay, it just helps put our lives in perspective. Nature has lots of reminders of expansion, like we're looking at this field, right? We've got the sky, we've got outer space, and we also have the ocean. So I love this image. This image reminds me of a lot of childhood experiences, adult experiences, whether it's along Lake Winnebago here in Oshkosh, or Lake Michigan, the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific. And when I was in college in Boston, I was about a mile away from the beach. And that was somewhere where I went to regularly, whether it was riding my bike or running. And I found that I really needed to go there after exams, when I was really worried about how I did. And I loved running to the beach, working off that adrenaline and sitting there and just looking at the horizon. And because I really needed to feel that sense of perspective, like my life is bigger than this moment, or the world is bigger than this moment. And so I invite you into this image and starting to get that sense of the grounding that we always do in our R&R sessions. And maybe imagine yourself either sitting on this beach or walking along the beach. And start to connect with what the sensory experience would be if you were on this beach. It might be the sound of the gulls, the waves crashing on the beach. It might be the breeze. Might think about the smells that are on the beach, that ocean salt water that can really clear the sinuses. And how we typically, when we get down to the water, whether it's salt water or fresh water, we typically will, take a deep breath and just take it in. You might wiggle your toes in the sand, feeling the warmth and the grains of the sand. So something I did as a college student and still do as an adult when I have the opportunities, I'll think about all the feet and hands that have touched the different grains of sand and wonder for how many thousands of years those grains of sand have been washing up on different shores, or the water, these water molecules, where have they been, and thinking about the waves washing up on the other side of the Atlantic or the other side of the Pacific. So feeling that sense of connection, maybe, right, with your senses and with a place that for you brings that sense of perspective, but maybe even expansion, go ahead and I invite you to close your eyes and bring your feet under your knees so that you feel grounded. You know, you can either stay in that image of the sand and pretend, or the beach, and pretend you're still got your feet sinking into the sand, or bring awareness to the floor beneath your feet and feel the ease of the support of the floor. Start to sink your hips and your buttocks into your chair, letting the chair fully hold all of your weight. Maybe drop your shoulders and let your shoulders, you know, the weight that you've been carrying on your shoulders, let the chair hold that weight. The weight under your seat and behind your back. So you can lean into the back of your chair and start to connect with the sensory experience internally now. So it's much easier to do this with your eyes closed or softly closed, gazing between the eyelashes. And you might start at your feet and noticing the sensations there, and then working up the body. Or you can start at the crown of the head and work your way down. And I invite you here to start noticing areas in the body or in the mind that are experiencing constriction. I know for me, taking my son to college, driving there, that 8-hour drive, I was constantly finding mental constrictions where I needed to open up and let it be, knowing there wasn't really much else I could do to prepare him. So it was rock and roll time. So there can be times like in our relationships where we have a real constricted point of view. There can be times where our muscle groups, like might be your shoulders, your back, your hips, maybe some muscles in your legs that really start to constrict. And as we breathe, we're going to bring our breath into those knotted areas where it's a knotted thought or a muscle, and letting the belly expand with the in-breath. And then on the exhale, squeezing gently that navel center to the back of your chair. And when you're ready to breathe in, release the effort and let the belly balloon. Breathing through the nostrils, exhaling through the nostrils or the mouth. Continuing to let those shoulders drop. The back of the neck release. And stay here with the breath, scanning the body, scanning the mind, and just taking mental note of where to bring the breath. There's no need to judge or criticize yourself. The minute you do that, you've entered a state of constriction. So acknowledging and honoring it, staying neutral, and bringing the intention to soften and maybe expand it. Couple more breaths. Being gentle with yourself, treating yourself as you treat a friend. And from here, we're going to start to move into some stretches in our chair. So we're going to move into the stretches. So I'm going to scoot away so that you can see me better. And what we're going to start out with is bringing our hands to our shoulders. And we're going to do some elbow squeezes here. So bringing the feet under your knees, and you might even scoot up a bit in your chair so you can really ground through those hips. So we're sitting over our sits bones and using that core strength. You might even engage the pelvic floor. That's really going to help you engage that navel center a little bit more fully, and pulling up, even up through the sternum, trying to get our elbows aligned with our shoulders if that's possible. If your shoulders are tender, feel free to drop the elbows to where they're comfortable. What we're going to do is we're going to close. We're going to come into a place of constriction in the front of our body. The back of the body between the shoulder blades behind the heart is going to expand. It's going to open, and you can bring that chin all the way down to your sternum and just roll into a ball. So trying to bring those elbows together. So that's on the exhale, and you're going to find you can pull that navel center in even more as you curl. And then when it's time to inhale, open it up and maybe even look up to the ceiling a bit, feeling a squeeze between the shoulder blades and an expansion across your collarbones. The elbows can drop. We're not going to keep them level. And then raise the elbows as you exhale, bringing them forward, kind of like those cat-cows that we've done in previous sessions. And inhale, expanding. So move with your own breath here. I'm going to go at my own pace, but if you need to go faster or slower, be my guest. We're going to do this 2 more times. So seeing if you can ball up even more. Maybe bringing your elbows all the way to the thighs. Okay, let's do it one more time because that feels so good. And then inhaling, coming back up. And now we're going to raise our palms facing forward, elbows trying to stay level with the shoulders. And we're going to, again, do some kind of like butterfly presses. If any of you have gone into the gym, there's that machine. And so coming exhale, we're not going to curl up, but we're still exhaling as the hands come together, inhaling as they part. You could even exaggerate it. So working those upper back muscles, releasing those. And then from here, we're going to bring our hands together and we're going to curl once more. So bringing in those lower abdominals, the mid abdominals, upper, as if you can pull them up into your rib cage, and then curl forward, bringing those shoulders up towards the ears. Breathing here and noticing the expansion in the back ribs. Imagine that space between each rib expanding with the in-breath and exhaling. So the ribs are really in 3D. They go expand outward, front and back. And from here, we're going to continue to hold that navel center in, and we're just going to fold over our lap. Now feel free to walk your feet a little bit apart and just let the belly hang between the thighs. The head can drop. The arms can drop. You can let those hands just lay or hang wherever they're at. If it's more comfortable to clasp opposite elbows, feel free to do that. And in your forward fold, you can start to nod the head up and down for yes or no, and move into, or yes, and move into your no, moving it back and forth. Take another few deep breaths here, letting the internal organs be squeezed by this compression. And then slowly start to roll back up to sitting. Now go ahead and rest your left hand on your armrest or maybe your thigh, but it's really nice if you have that armrest. We're going to reach the right arm up and over for a side stretch, looking past the right armpit. Now don't let that left side droop. Try to sit over your sits bones and lift through the upper torso with the ribs. So think about your right ribs lifting up and over and looking past that armpit. So again, you're going to be squeezing that navel center in, but breathing diaphragmatically. You're using that left arm to prop you up so that you can get more length through the spine. And then we're going to switch sides. The right elbow, forearm rests on your armrest or your thigh, and that left arm reaches up, 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 reach through the ribs, sit over those sits bones, and then hinge over to the right, looking past your left armpit. So rooting through those sits bones, especially the left hip and sits bone, trying to lengthen that left arm. Bring awareness. Is it drooping like this, or are you making it activated and dynamic? Maybe even straightening your fingers rather than letting them be limp. Breathing here, focusing on that sense of expansion. You can always close your eyes, bring a sense of calm and ease, and then bring it down. Now we're going to twist. We're going to bring our right hand to the outside of our left knee. Again, that left hand can rest on your armrest or your chair. And we're going to hug that navel center in, reach up. So we're sitting over those sits bones and then twist from the ribs. You can look straight over to your left side or past the left shoulder behind you. This is great for the spine and for the organs. Come back to center, release the hands back onto your lap, and now take that left hand and bring it to the outside of your right knee. And the right hand can rest on the armrest or the side of your chair. Again, sitting over the sits bones, lifting up through the crown of the head, engage the abdominals and twist from the ribs. Chin can come towards the right shoulder. And breathe. And then coming back to center, lift the right knee up and hold your leg up behind the thigh. We're gonna do just some ankle circles, one direction, reverse direction, and then move that lower leg back and forth, front and back. Bring it back to center and move it side to side. And then now take that right ankle, and if you can, bring it over your left thigh or your left shin. So we're going to come into this supported pigeon, and we're once again going to hug that navel center and lift through the crown of the head, reaching through the spine, and we're going to hinge forward. If you ever experience sharp pain, it means you've gone too far. So you can always modify it. If your ankle is up over your thigh, you might just slide it, straighten that left leg and slide your ankle down as long as it's not resting directly on the knee. So hinging forward with the crown of the head, feeling that nice stretch in the psoas and the outer hip. You might reach over to the left or twist to the left and then to the right. Again, noticing those areas of tightness and opening them up. And then bringing that right foot down to the floor. Pick the left leg up, clasp the hands behind the left thigh, and do your ankle circles with the left ankle. Reverse direction. Now dangle that leg, moving it forward and back. And side to side. Now help that left ankle over the right thigh or over the right shin. Find your grounded stance here, bringing the shoulders over the sits bones, lifting, 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 and then hinging forward until you feel a nice sensation here. Breathe into it. So again, reaching your nose or the crown of the head forward. And you can come into a small mini twist here to the right, to the left. And then coming back up, bringing both feet to the ground. Shrug those shoulders, you can circle them. Circle them back. And then we're gonna come back to, if you're not seated fully back into your chair with the support of the backrest, go ahead and do so. And we're gonna take a moment here with the eyes closed. Just like last month, we talked about the nectar, enjoying the nectar of the practice. So taking a moment here to be still and noticing the shifts in the body, how it's feeling now compared to when you first joined the call. And imagine a light, a golden light in the center of your skull. And that light growing where it's shining through the crown of your head and coming down farther into the skull, down through the neck, through the shoulders, through the arms and torso. And as it travels and expands, imagine the warmth of this light, the security, the contentedness of this beautiful light, as if you're on the beach soaking up the sun's rays, but the sun is internal. And let that light continue to travel down through the hips and through the legs and down through the feet. And with the sense of light, I'll read you this poem by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. The idea in our culture of body solely as sculpture is wrong. Body is not marble. That is not its purpose. Its purpose is to protect, contain, support, and fire the spirit and soul within it. To be a repository for memory, to fill us with feeling. That is the supreme psychic nourishment. It is to lift us and propel us, to fill us with the feeling to prove that we exist, that we are here, to give us grounding, heft, weight. It is wrong to think of it as a place we leave in order to soar to the spirit. The body is the launcher of those experiences. Without body, there would be no sensations of crossing thresholds. There would be no sense of lifting, no sense of height or weightlessness. All that comes from the body. The body is the rocket launcher. In its nose capsule, the soul looks out the window into the mysterious starry night and is dazzled. So taking a moment to breathe in some of those key words that stood out to you. And maybe if this is a totally different thought or idea, and entertaining the expansiveness of it. that the body gives experience to our expansive souls. And with that, we'll start to gently wiggle our fingers and our toes. Maybe rock the head a little bit side to side. Yes and no. Maybe even rubbing our hands together, creating warmth and bringing them over our face before we open our eyes, just gently bringing you back into the room. And I want to thank you all for joining us this month and noting the keyword if you all are collecting wellness points. And as always, you can reach us by calling our main number if you're ever interested in using EAP as a place for emotional support or skill development. You can reach us by our 800 number or our email, YouTube channel, and keep an eye on our regular trainings that we hold. We do a lot of virtual online, several, like every other month for our lunch and learns on Tuesdays. So with that, we look forward to seeing you all next month for the October session.